realized we are the only thing standing between you and lunch. So we're gonna have to make this good. And as we just heard, I have wonderful panelists here. I have Jeremy Lott, who's the president and CEO of SanMar, Daron Hines, who is president of Staples Promotional Products, Gilley, president of Overture, and Pierre Montaubin, who is president of Koozie. We're going to first start with Daron. Daron, you've been president of Staples for the last 2 years. What has it been like taking over and overseeing such a vast and successful company as Staples?
Yeah. Okay, am I on?
Yep.
Let's see. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. So I'll tell you, it's been fascinating. And first off, I'd say thank you for having me. There's certainly many of you that I have not met yet that I look forward to spending time with you here over the next couple of days. But it has been a really fantastic ride. I'll just tell you, just by way of context, I always think context is important. I grew up in CPG, so I started my career off at General Mills there for about 15 years. I'm a big brand guy, so I worked for the James Smucker Company for 4 years, Morton Salt for another 4 years, running all the commercial operations across the Americas. And it has been fascinating, Jo-An, because I've touched sort of the branded merchandise sort of industry throughout my career, being in commercial, but never really thought about it. And I said, when presented with this opportunity, boy, I think I can add value, because there are a lot of people like me who exist who didn't really think about where the merchandise is coming from, that I think we could make real headway in a meaningful, or a real headspace in a meaningful way at Staples. So it's been a fun and fast-paced 2 years.
And it'll be even a funner pace in the next few years. Pierre, you've been with Vic and Koozie for 15 years, and in your new job as president and CEO for 6 or 8 weeks, somewhere in that zone?
Yeah, whopping 3 months.
3 months, 12 weeks, all right, so it's already 100% longer tenure. What are your expectations moving into this new role at Koozie?
Well, it's a great experience, and you have to learn very fast to deal with your shareholders and board members. That's the first thing, and I have the chance to be in the industry for 15 years, as you know. 9 years on the sourcing side. I was in Hong Kong for 9 years. Big offered me this opportunity in 2009, and then when we got sold to HIG Capital in 2017, they asked me the choice. I had the choice either to go back to France and continue to sell stationery, lighters, and shavers, which was quite boring. I hope I'm not recorded here. And or continue in the promo world and come stateside. So the rest is history. So I think coming to this role, the biggest challenge, if I can twist your question that way, is being elevated from your peers. So I'm surrounded with a great team of people, but it's kind of a transition for all of us, right? So very grateful for this team, and yeah, great challenge forward.
Let's talk about sales in 2023 as a barometer for everyone's businesses here. This will give you a measure in terms of how you're performing as compared to our panel here. Jeremy, how have sales been for SanMar this year, and what challenges have you faced?
Yeah, thanks, Jo-An. Sales have been okay this year. And when I say that, last year we had a unique situation where dollars significantly outpaced dozens that we sold. This year that has flipped, so we're selling more dozens than we are dollars. People have traded down to lower price items. We're selling better in our lower price items, so we're doing more work for less dollars. We also significantly overbuilt inventory coming off the kind of roller coaster of the last few years, which has pretty significant implications for profitability for the business. So for us, we're having a good year from a top line perspective, selling again though more units than dollars. From a bottom line perspective, it's a challenge as we work through this inventory bubble that we built.
So I would translate that into higher order counts as compared to increase of sales?
Yes, that's accurate.
And I'm going to tease this out a little more because we want to be transparent as much as we can. Sales are not to what you would expect your budget to be, or where are they?
Sales are actually better than where our budget originally was. Sitting here 12 months ago, I would have told you there was a recession coming in 2023. I thought it was going to be in the first quarter. I thought the year was going to be better. I was totally wrong, just like I've been wrong about most everything over the last several years. So we've actually done better from a top line perspective than what we had. Bottom line, we've actually kind of hit where we thought the budget would be. We just got there in a very different way.
Okay. How about yourself, Daron? How are sales for Staples in '23? How can we use that as a barometer for our own businesses to measure against?
Yeah, sure. No, I think it's a very astute question. It is not where we wanted it to be completely transparent. To Jeremy's point, we're seeing our average order size decrease year over year. Our quote activity is actually solid. As I think most of you may know, Staples Promotional Products, we tilt toward the commercial enterprise side of things. So when I describe it to our CEO and our private equity sponsors, it's a belt tightening of that commercial enterprise market that we're experiencing. So, and it's with everything that Todd had sort of mentioned earlier today. Inflation is at 4%. Okay, inflation's at 4%, so high, not as high as it was a year ago, but certainly higher than the sort of the long-term average. Interest rates are high. So when those sort of dynamics happen, it makes the market contract, and that's what we're seeing in the small, medium-sized businesses. That market is solid, I would say. The other last point that I would just sort of mention is, if I think of the two things that are sort of encouraging, it's one, that if you've been in business long enough, you know that these things are cyclical, right? So it'll come back to us. I don't think it's going to come back in the next sort of 6 months. I think we're still going to have some downward pressure. But the other thing is, we are, if you look at the jobs market, and I look very much at the jobs market all the time, because I think it's important overall, but certainly for our industry. And the U.S. economy has added over 2 million jobs this year. Thank you. And this is much better. And 350-ish thousand, or roughly 350,000 just in September. So that bodes well for our industry, and certainly as I look at Staples specifically, that's a real encouraging sign for the future.
I would interpret that sales this year is much like your microphone sort of skipped, and you're thinking next year will be a little bit better like your microphone?
Yeah, I think next year should be better. It's not going to start off in Q1 out of the gate just because the calendar year changes. I don't think the economic pressures will sort of ease up as quickly.
Now, Joe, you've been CEO of Overture for 6 years or more. How is this year? How are sales this year, and how would you compare it to previous years?
So,
Here we go. Hello.
You want to borrow my mic?
can you hear me? Is it working?
Borrow to once.
All right, we're switching. Sorry. Same story really for 2023. It's a little slower than we forecast. Q3 was slightly up over Q3 a year ago. And October is looking good, so we're hopeful for Q4. But what's interesting is that our sales reps are working harder, even though it's flat. And I think they're having to quote way more things to get the order than they have in the past. So working harder, staying kind of steady, and we're hoping Q4 gets better, lives up to the hype.
I think what you're saying, Joe, is what many companies are experiencing, flat sales this year, certainly not to expectations. Jeremy used that wonderful phrase of dozens versus dollars. I'm going to use that at the next board meeting. Thank you, Jeremy. And what that does translate into smaller average order values. Has that positioned Koozie Koozie this past year in terms of your experience, and what do you see? What have you seen this year?
I would love to say something different, but I will not. So yes, it's exactly the same trend as everybody's seeing. Smaller orders, larger order quantities, so basically flat versus last year, slightly up. And I agree with Joe, we're starting to see a little bit of trepidation in October, which is great. I think it's really a tale of two stories for us, as we have a large product portfolio. Is really coming back to pre-pandemic products that people want because of return from to the offices. So we see a lot of traction in sticky notes and pens and notebooks, which are of lower value than what we've seen trending during the pandemic. Think about blankets and chairs, and everybody wanted to offer their employees a higher value gift because they were working remotely. So I think that's tell two stories.
Joe, we just heard a fascinating panel on terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning. What is Overture doing this now and or in the future for AI?
So we about 2 months ago had sort of a task force meeting of our senior leadership team and our department leaders. And the way we started the meeting, we went around the table and asked everyone if and how your department's using AI. And every single department is using it in some way. So it's already happening, and our challenge now is to, let the departments continue to use it, but get strategic about what are we going to actually invest in terms of workflow process automation and customer service, and those kind of things. But literally all over the company, people are already using it. Our team is using Midjourney. Our accounting team is using ChatGPT to write NetSuite searches, which is fascinating, and Excel formulas, which is kind of interesting as well.
So it sounds like you're weaving it into the fabric of your whole business. Jeremy, have you had any wins with AI at SanMar? With the microphone we're using, but
we might be behind where Joe is certainly, but I think we are working hard to try to figure out a strategy of where it makes sense for us. So things like how we do photography today. We spend a huge amount of money using live models of photography versus AI that could give us a lot more variety in terms of the models that we're able to select and interesting options that we can use. Things around forecasting. The previous speaker talked about that. We spend a huge amount of time as an organization trying to forecast inventory trends. We think AI can play a huge role in that. For us, the biggest investments we're making right now are in automation within our distribution centers. So for the most part, we do a lot of manual picking within our distribution centers. It's a huge cost to us. We have about 5,000 employees today in the US in distribution centers. And so how we automate that in the future is a huge piece of where we're investing today.
you had shared with me that you're investing in a facility, I believe in Virginia, 1.4 million square feet. I could be wrong.
1.2.
1.2 million. Well, I'm a distributor, so we always inflate numbers. And 1.2 million. Hey, it's true. Share with me some of your plans with AI in terms of this distribution center, the way you plan when you go live with it versus some of the others that you've had. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. We're moving into it's this huge building, and it's a green field for us. So the ability to kind of start from scratch, kind of what we look like. And so we've worked with 2 different kind of consulting firms that are helping us strategize around that. And the solutions that you look for depend on the number of SKUs that you want to carry, SKU velocity. Are you selling? Do you have a small number of SKUs that turn really fast? Well, that's a very different automation strategy than if you have several 100,000 SKUs that turn slow. And so for us, we're really looking at that. But I can tell you that we've seen labor costs in our distribution centers significantly outpace inflation over the last several years. Labor has been a challenge. And so the ROI on the automation investments is really pretty significant. We're going to spend over $100 million inside that building on automation. So for us, that's a huge bet. We'll be retrofitting several of our other DCs over the next decade. But this will be our first real test. I went to a distribution center that runs a similar system to the one I think we're going to work at. They do a similar volume to what we do in our Ohio facility today. We have close to 1,000 employees in Ohio. They had 200 employees in the building. So it was fascinating what this automation can do, and really significant opportunities.
If I were your CFO and I was looking at that CapEx, I think I would approve it. Daron, how are Staples using AI?
Yeah, so I would say we're very much on a journey. So we've started, think about Staples Promotional Products, and then obviously Staples Inc., which is sort of the parent to us. So as an enterprise, we've started to sort of dabble in it within our supply chain. Jeremy mentioned inventory management in those sorts of endeavors. We're just, I would say, on the cusp of doing some real work, demand forecasting for sure. In this industry, and where we just talked about sort of the business conditions that we're all sort of facing, it's been dynamic. So AI is going to play a real role in how we forecast the business going forward, especially because AI just inherently is smart, right? So it starts to normalize the ebbs and flows of the business to actually give you sort of normalized data set to sort of work from. So that's certainly an opportunity for us. And then I would say lastly, just when you think about even HR and some of the requisitions and job descriptions that we have to create using ChatGPT actually has saved us a significant amount of time. And that is a very sort of practical way in that we're using it. Jo-An, I would say we are very much on, it is certainly going to be a part of the fabric of our organization in the future, and we'll never get to bright because just the pace of change of technology is just so real that we'll continue to sort of improve over time.
Since we don't have a lot of time left, Pierre, we're going to shift subject and forecast 2024. I think that's next year, 2024. What are you personally forecasting for Koozie, and what do you think the market will look like next year for promo?
Well, I heard Erica saying I will be full of shit if I predict the future. Answer that question. So I think a couple of things. We are going to focus on education at Koozie Group. I think it's important for the industry as a whole to look at sustainability, what it means, educating our customers and educating us as an industry around what does it mean to sell promotional products, right? So we want to be partners and listen to you guys and get to a place where we can bring better solutions, right? So, and the second thing that we're going to focus on is around sustainability, environment. You heard this buzzword, but doing it the way without doing the right things when nobody's watching, right? So we discontinued single-use plastic products. We are replacing stuff around the products, recycled material in our products. You can use a kg factor as an entry point to that. So it's all that things that we want to move forward for 2024.
Does anyone else want to predict in terms of what your expectations will be for 2024 in terms of sales for this industry? Be brave. Go for it.
I mean, I can tell you, we just had a Q3 board meeting last week, and we have two cases that we're using. We have an operating case that we are buying to and that we are staffing to at the moment, and that has kind of single-digit dollar growth. We also have what I'm calling the risk-adjusted case, which is there's so much, kind of uncertainty in the world, whether it's, multiple wars or, recession or interest rates or whatever it is. And so we have a case that is much flatter that I am kind of planning from a financial standpoint towards. And so, and I started with earlier, I told you I've been wrong about everything for the last couple of years, so I'm sure I'll be wrong, but those are the two cases that we're going kind of an organization?
I'll tell you why this question is so important. I remember being here as an audience, part of the audience in 2008, and I was listening to a panel who actually projected a tough year for 2008, 2009, so I guess it was 2007. And they were sharing more of a pessimistic view back then, and it was right before the Great Recession. And I went back and adjusted all my budgets. And based on the panel, I changed my budgets to what I had heard, and so we actually had a very good year because we nailed that budget. Had I not attended this session and heard the panel, I don't think I would have done that, and it would have been a difficult situation. And that's why your feedback is so important for here. We're running out of time, so I have one request of everyone here. If you have a moment, please speak with Jeremy about what they're doing in sustainability and a full circle ecosystem at SanMar in Central America. It will blow your mind. If you have a moment, get an opportunity to meet Daron. He is such an impressive person. And with his background in merchandising and other businesses that are our customers, we can learn from him. If you have a moment, speak with Joe about what Overture is doing. Overture has really been growing at a significant pace, both organically and through other avenues, and she can help you adjust your plan. And if you have a moment, Pierre is such a wonderful person. I want you to get to know him, but he's been an expat, and he lived in Hong Kong, and I guess, are you an expat if you're a French guy living in Hong Kong, working for a US company? I'm not sure about that. He worked in Asia and Hong Kong for so many years, and he knows product and sourcing, and as suppliers, we all think we do. He is a true subject matter expert, and he can help you understand what the potential risks are of doing business with Asia in a U.S. economy and market and political situation that might be a little bit perilous in the next few years. And so with that, I want to thank you. You're a fabulous panel. I wish we had more time with you because you are true experts. Thank you.